It is the Rokan Show with Anna DeWantis right here on 720 WGN. You know what I have right now?
What?
I have a family 4-pack of tickets to the Sycamore Speedway. 2 adults, 2 kids, general admission, Midwest's finest clay track. That's what it is. Visit sycamorespeedway.com and callers, let's see here. Let's do callers 25 and 27 for reasons that only I know. And I don't even know what that means.
You're not going to reveal that?
You know what? They're just the 2 numbers that came into my head, I suppose. Play those tonight, by the way, in the lottery. 25 and 27. All right, so we've got, go ahead, rip us off for those. 312-981-7200. 312-981-7200.
Free stuff.
Yep. All right, Adam Carolla is standing by. You know him, you love him from not only his podcast, but the many, many, many things that he has done.
Oh, yeah.
And I just want to say right now, this Mark Maron, who I'll bet you've known for years, Adam. I don't know. Do you know him?
Not really, but I've known him. I mean, I've known of him, but we didn't really run in the same circles.
Yeah, now this guy, all of a sudden, he's getting some sort of podcast crown and trying to take it away from you, and you're the guy who basically invented the podcast as a model for making money. So I'm deeply troubled by this. You need to get some politician on to say something really profane, I think. And that's the only way.
Did you try to get Obama?
No, I think the way Obama works is he figure out someone who's going to be sort of.
Uh-oh. Adam?
Is it just call waiting, or is that...
Adam.
There you are.
Adam. I'm
sorry.
Tunnels.
My phone just switching over to Bluetooth. Sorry. Yeah, I'm assuming there's a vetting process, and maybe politically they didn't want to speak to me.
Well, I find this whole thing to be calculated to me. I think the president wanted to enter into this debate and wanted to bring this out, and either that or if he had no idea of what he was starting, then the concept of oblivion is more than I thought it was here. But my sense is that he wanted to do this somewhere, and a podcast was a good place to do it because broadcast networks would, all shy away from that, and radio stations and things like that.
So. It was bleeped on a lot of stations that replayed it, right?
Yes,
including here,
including this one. Mm-hmm. All right.
It makes no. Look, he's doing whatever he wants to do because who cares? At this point.
Right. Doesn't have to run for anything. Doesn't have to try to get other people elected at the moment. Right now, he's in his, He's in his, second semester of his senior year. He has nothing but some papers due. There are no exams at the end of the semester. And, some of the papers are recycled from a couple of years ago anyway. So he's just kind of riding it out. That's sort of why he's just.
I'll do you one better. He already was accepted into Stanford, and not only was he accepted into Stanford, he's going to get $350,000 to show up and do a speech one night at Stanford.
That's nice.
So
why not have a beer with some of the chicks from the volleyball team?
That's I think an excellent point. I want to ask you about something else that you're working on, though. I am fascinated by this because Adam Carolla, you know him, you love him from Loveline, The Man Show, all those things in his podcast. But he's also directed a movie about Paul Newman.
Oh, interesting.
Now, explain. You take a look at Paul Newman not as the actor. You look at him as the race car driver, right?
Yeah, the movie's called Winning the Racing Life of Paul Newman. It's only about Paul Newman's driving and winning 4 national championships, and that's all it is. There's no, it's brought up that he won an Academy Award, but there's no emphasis on Paul Newman, the actor. It's all Paul Newman, the driver.
And I think people may have been familiar with the idea of this, that once his acting career, he sort of lost interest in it, even though he's still, I think, to the very end, was still one of the best looking men on screen of all times. Even when he was much, much, much older, he still had this most interesting looking. You could see what Paul Newman was all about.
Charisma.
He just decided that he just wanted to get involved in racing. He wanted to race himself, and then after those skills started to deteriorate at a point that he was worried about himself on the track, he was an owner along with the Newman Haas Group, which was remarkably successful. But now, Adam, I always heard this story about Paul Newman, though, so I don't know if this works. It was said that Paul Newman would drink between 6 and 12 beers a day. Did you ever hear that?
Many of the pictures we found of him on the podium, he had a Budweiser in his hand.
Yeah.
I think he did like to tilt a few beers. The thing about racing, as I know, as a guy like to tilt a few beers too, you cannot tilt any beers before the race or during the race, but you may tilt as many as you like afterward. And so I'm assuming he tilted a few beers after the race.
Yeah. Well, I think once he stopped actually racing, and he was just in team ownership and the management of that, which these guys get, totally sucked into. And Paul Newman as a driver, as a lot of actors from that era, became, right? I mean, there were guys that got involved. They just liked for whatever the need for speed, to coin the cliche.
Fancy cars.
And all of that. And then he had real skills at doing it. Right, Adam?
Well, he won 4 national championships. He won in, I think it may have been 73 or 74. He won in 79. He won in 85, a GT1 championship. He won in 86, a GT1 championship. So he won 4 national driving championships, which you can't really do if you're doing it as a hobby or part-time, because you have to collect points. And when you get enough points, you have to go to Road Atlanta for the runoffs, and you have to beat everyone from around the country. Wow. So it can't be a hobby.
It's an expensive hobby.
Yeah, well,
like horse racing.
And a dangerous hobby too, because if you don't know exactly what it is you're doing.
I'm saying it's not a hobby.
No,
right. No, we know. We're just
right. I mean, it is. Yeah, I mean, it would be. You can't. You have to really be good at doing this. All right. So.
Well, it's not only do you have to be good at it, you have to dedicate a significant amount of time to it, because you have to go to Pocono, you have to go to Road Atlanta, you have to go to Sears Point. You have to go to all these places all over the country and do your races every weekend. That's what he did the entire second half of his life.
What draw you to the story?
I have 7 of his race cars from back in the day, and I drive them in vintage events. So I was already kind of into it before I started getting into it.
And so you decided just to tell the story about how this came to be, essentially. I mean, without making it about yourself, but about him. About what does all this mean? What do you have, by the way? And is this podcast money that's paying for this? I just want to know for my own future.
Yeah, Ro's very jealous of your podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. No, well, some of it's podcast money, and then some of it was just pre-podcast money. That was gay prostitute money.
Oh, that'll do it.
No, I wasn't a gay prostitute.
No.
What I'm saying is I stopped going to gay prostitutes and saved the money.
Right.
Understood.
I don't want you to think I'm some kind of weirdo.
Yeah, no. We fully understand. Fully understand.
As long as it's clear. I want it to be clear.
Crystal.
I have a Camaro. I have the GT1 championship cars from 85 and 86. They're both Datsun 300 ZXs, but they're 2-frame cars. They don't look like Datsuns. Mm-hmm. They're race cars. They're built like NASCARs are. They don't have any sheet metal on them. I could bore you guys with the.
I'm just interested in that, like and do these when you own those, do they appreciate in value?
I hope they do. I assume they do. It's a weird market because most of them are sort of one of one. I have his 2+2 300ZX car from 1988. I have a twin-turbo V8 car from 79. These are all Nissans, except for the Camaro.
Wow. That's interesting stuff. All right. Well, there's that. I just wanted to mention that because that's already, it's going into, you're putting it up into the, to those, festival, markets, right? So to see if this can win awards and then take it out to, where's it going to live? In theaters or cable television? What are you thinking about?
It's available now on VOD or iTunes or Amazon or wherever you get movies. It's available.
Winning: The Racing Life of Paul Newman, and it is Adam Carolla directing. Also, Adam wrote Daddy Stop Talking, which is a term we've all heard. And you can also see Catch a Contractor, new episodes every Sunday at 10 p.m. on the Spike Network. And, of course, for everything, Adam Carolla, AdamCarolla.com.
Adam, I'm curious because I always wonder, you've done so many different things. You have such a diverse career, from the podcasting to acting and your shows like The Man Show, which I was a big fan of. What is it that people recognize you for most? What do they come up to you and say, hey, I knew you from, or do you get that?
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. It's funny. People come up and I'm happy to say they come up and they go, hey, I like your TV show. And I said, what show?
Right. You've had so many.
Some of them are talking about Catch a Contractor, which is on now, but some people are talking about Crank Yankers or Love Lines, or Man Show or whatever. And sometimes even they'll say your Home Improvement show, and I had another Home Improvement show that was 9 years old. So, I don't know, and I guess I'm happy that, I guess Man Show, Love Line, but now the podcast, I guess it's, in a way, it's a good thing. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it is.
Not to know where you're known from. Because I don't think Pat Sajak has that problem.
No,
I'm certain. I'm certain that is true. Although I got to tell you something, his podcast, woo! Look out!
Yeah, watch out.
All right,
when that competition comes in.
He's only known from the podcast.
Adam Carolla, thanks, Adam. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks for having me.
All right, AdamCarolla.com.